Hi everybody, thanks for coming out. I hope you don't mind. What I'm doing is I'm going to record this today just because I'm really tired of repeating myself and telling the exact same stories over and over and over again. So this is sort of my duplication of efforts. So along with all of you learning, this camera's going to be here. So when you guys decide to move on to bigger and better things, I don't have to teach it again. All I got to do is hit play and someone else can watch it and everyone else can be brought to speed to right where you are today. So what we're going to discuss is we're going to talk about the entire sales funnel and marketing machine that we have set up and how to negotiate with the sellers as the calls come in. So obviously step one that we have going out, we have the email. Our sellers are most likely getting an email in their inbox from Craigslist for sell by owner, expired listings, however we may be acquiring it. And the email is basically just saying, hey, I'm Rob the House Guy. I might be interested in taking over your payments or just making you a fair cash offer on it. Do you want to chat? Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Very simple. Out of all those, one way or another, what's happening, these guys are responding to us either by calling the office, which is getting directed over to an answering service that's monitored 24 hours a day, and they're taking the information down from the person and sending it over to us via email, or their email is saying, yes, I'd love to talk, here's my information. So that's how we're compiling these people. The next step in that is I'm going to call him the dialer. The dialer is the individual that takes this data once the person has raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested. Because believe it or not, if we send out 100 emails, 100 people don't send back an email saying, yes, I'm interested. You get some FUs in there, you get some people ignoring you, and then you get some people that say, yes, I'm interested. The yes, I'm interested people go to a dialer. The dialer is going to go through a script on a property profile form, is what we call it, and they are going to chat with these sellers in a very conversational manner. So they're getting them on the phone and saying, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, this is Joe. I'm working with Rob the House Guy. He sent you an email. He's interested, but to be honest, he just wants me to gather some quick information, go over some details with you, and save him time because he cannot talk to every single person for an hour on the phone. These calls usually take about 15-20 minutes depending on how good the dialer is. What the dialer is doing is they're gathering all the preliminary information. Bedrooms, bathrooms, condition, what they owe, are they current on payments, are they living there, is it vacant? In a very conversational manner, not in a telemarketing manner that they're going down and reading, but they are starting to build the relationship with the seller and starting to build the trust and starting to basically marry Rob the House Guy with the seller so we can do a deal later on. Now here's where the whole meeting is about today, is talking about how to negotiate with these individuals once we start getting them interested. Sellers are always going to throw out some sort of number. Sometimes they don't want to, rarely, but sometimes they're going to say, well, you tell me. You tell me a price. Well, in that case, the dialer is going to tell them, I can't be the buyer and the seller, you have to play a role. You want them to throw a number first, because whoever throws a number first loses. You never want to be the first one to throw it out there. Let them throw something and start the conversation rolling. Now, once they throw a number, you want to mention, this is all still in the dialer mode. The dialer here, it's kind of like, if you will, it's going down a funnel. Right here. So the dialer is starting to, everything's filtering it. Every way, every step of the way. So the dialer is going to ask, how did you arrive at this price? Did a real estate agent tell you this is what it's worth? Did the neighbor's house sell for this? Is this what you owe on it? Do you have bills and this is what you're just trying to get to cover your bills? Where did you come up with this number? That's very important. During that same conversation with the seller, the dialer is going to be asking what repairs the home needs, and if the home needs any repairs whatsoever. In the event it does need repairs, ask the seller again, well, what do you think it's going to cost to put a roof on this house? Don't you say it as a dialer, and don't you say it as an internal buyer. You need to let them throw it out there, because even though we're believing that this might cost us $5,000 to the roof, if they come back saying, well, I think roofs are like $15,000, let them run with that. Why are we going to put $10,000 back on the table that we don't have to? Make sense, everyone? You guys got it? Always ask them, how did you arrive at these numbers? Have you had it quoted? Has this person done work for you before? Are you willing to do the work ahead of time? Would you rather us do the work? Ask them. Give the sellers what they want. The more cooperative we can be, the more likelihood of us actually marrying us with them to do a real estate transaction. Confrontation, nobody wants to do business with someone that's confrontational. You never want to tell a seller that they're wrong. You never want to tell them they're stupid. You never want to tell them anything negative, but you want to question them, and you want to let them draw their own conclusions. So let's go back up now. We've already asked what they're asking for it, and we've asked them also maybe what the repairs might be. So let's just call it a $100,000 house. They say it's $100,000 and it needs $10,000 in repairs. Okay, so you arrived at this how? Well, I arrived at it because the neighbor's house sold for $100,000. So is this a development type home and all the houses are exactly the same? Do you understand how comparable? Say, I'm asking, and I always say I'm asking you respectfully. I'm not trying to question your intelligence, but just being in the business, I want to make sure that we're talking about the same things. Because the house next door to my house, I can promise you, is not a comparable to our house. We are way overdeveloped for our neighborhood. The house next door to ours is probably worth 10% of what ours is. So you can't just go because they're right next to each other. You need to go based off of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, year built, type of home it is, type of foundation, basement, crawl space, slab, 2 stories, 1 story, attached garage, detached garage. It has to be a true similar house. In rural areas, it's very challenging to do that. So if you're talking about comparables, you need to look, if you're in a suburban type setting or an urban type setting, half a mile, 6 months. So within a half a mile of that house, within 6 months, with a similar type house, similar year, everything else, that's a comparable. You go out to the country, you can go 5, even 10 miles away, and you can go back a year, because it's more challenging to find the comparables. So, when you're asking them these questions, and they're saying, well, this is what my neighbor's house sold for, and this is the type of repairs it needs, you can always bring up, if you already have your data in front of you, say, well, Mr. Homeowner, I understand you want $100,000, and because of the internet, I'm pretty quick and I can look real fast, and you know, if you're on Oak Street, you see Maple Street over here. Well, yeah, Maple Street, that's the next street over. It appears to me that there's another colonial exactly like yours that sold for $65,000. Why? Well, I don't know. Well, so is there something, did you know the house? Was it fire damage or water damage? Because it looks like a nice house in the pictures. Well, no. I'm looking at internal pictures here too, because it was on Realtor.com. I can see the inside. This has an updated kitchen, nice bath, so $65,000. Are you trying to get $100 because you owe $95 on it? And if they, depending on what they say, you're going to ask them. Never be confrontational. Say, well, you're doing the stuff for what's owed, and you have to get that amount. Maybe we can do some owner financing. And that's where you're going to actually start bringing it down the funnel to the next step here, which is, this is internal right here. And this is when it goes beyond the dialer, and it's going to go to more of the internal purchase, where it's going to either be myself or someone right below me that's really getting the nuts and bolts. And this is the next step that if you're a dialer watching this, you don't have to worry about. But if you're the internal purchaser, this is where you're going to start really negotiating with the folks. As you're asking them these questions and trying to figure out, all we're trying to do is put a preliminary offer together. Explain to them, this offer that we're talking about, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, is based completely off of what you're telling us and what we see online and what we know the area homes are going for. If it looks like we're pretty close and somewhere in the ballpark, what we're going to do is we're going to come out to the home, make sure everything is what it is, talk about the numbers in immense details, ink a purchase agreement, get it to the title company so we can get you a check fast. Otherwise, I don't want to waste your time or our time and gas to drive out there if we're not even close. Is that fair? So let's just see if we can get on the same page. And an internal method, the way we start thinking about how this home, what we can pay for it, is let's call it a $100,000 house. And let's say it needs $10,000 in repairs. We're going to start at 70 cents on the dollar. So that $100,000 house is going to be $70,000. And it needs 10,000 repairs, brings us down to $60,000. So we need to explain to them that, Mr. Homeowner, I understand you want $120,000 for your house, but we can really buy these things for $100,000 all over your neighborhood. I understand you overpaid. I understand you bought it in 2003, height of the market. I get that. I have houses I've lost money on too. Maybe we're not your Huckleberry. Maybe we're not the ones that need to be buying your house. But I'm a very real, very serious buyer with a very real checkbook here in front of me, and I have the ability to buy your home. So all these realtors that have brought people through and all these people that have looked at your home and haven't even made an offer, it's because they can't get financing, they don't have the cash, or they're so particular there's something wrong with your home that they don't want it. I am as serious a buyer as they've ever been in your home. So we are talking real numbers here. So let's try to get close, and if we can get close, I'm going to come out there, ink a deal, and get you a check. Sound fair? So you want to instill in them how real we are. But explain, because of our ability to pay cash, we have to buy some equity. That's why we're in business. That's why we're trying to purchase your home, so we can turn a profit, stay in business here. So we're going to start our offer at about 70 cents on the dollar for what we can buy them for, and take repairs off of that. So if they're comfortable with that, then we move forward. Sometimes you don't even have to go through that and explain to them that 70 cents on a dollar. You just have to know that internally. So as you're looking at it, just know I can buy them for this. Explain, say, I'm needing work, whatever. I'm thinking we're going to be at $50,000, $60,000. Does that sound like something you can live with? Say, and we might be more than that. If we get out there, you might be overestimating how much work this home needs. Always try to err on the side of them. Like, you might be really beating this house up more. Like, your hairline fracture in a foundation that you're telling us you need a new wall might really need just some hydraulic cement. So it might be a $100 fix on a $10,000 fix, which is going to put a lot more money in your pocket. So don't try to make it sound worse on the phone. Be very real with them. And always talk about the longevity. Say, listen, if we were out stealing people's homes and taking advantage of people, we wouldn't have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, been in business almost 2 decades, and done over 1,000 deals. It just, you can't have all of that and be a crook in the same sentence. I mean, you don't take my word for it. If you want to talk to some sellers, you want to talk to some investors, you want to talk to some tenant buyers in our houses, or whatever you want to talk to, we're here. We can show you. You want to come to our office, we're in a physical location. We're not a schmuck in a truck running out of a P.O. box and a cell phone. We are very serious buyers, and we are very interested in your home. But at the same time, you got to look at us as someone asking you to prom. We're not going to ask you to prom and then let you say, well, let me go see if anyone else wants to go with me, then I'll come back to you. Either we're doing a deal or we're going to move on. But I'm not interested in sitting in limbo, because as many houses as we have, we're not Bill Gates, and we're not some billionaire investment firm that just has limitless funds. We know how much money we have allotted, and we only have so much to buy so many houses a month. We're interested now. 2 weeks from now, we might have spent that money on something else. So if you're serious, let's get to yes or no. I'm cool with either one, but yes or no. Can we agree not to say maybe? Doesn't have to be yes or no right this second. It could be like yes if everything sounds good, and you and your spouse agree on it when we get out there. That's fine too. But it can't be something you're going to sit on for a month, because we might not have the funds at that point. But right now we have the funds and we're very serious. So you start letting them know that some of the things that what's going to change. Ask them things that they already know the answers to. You want to ask them, well, how long have you had your home in the market? Well, it's been on the market a year. Well, how many offers have you had? Well, I've had no offers. So you've had a year and no offers. How many showings? Well, I've had it with 2 different agents, and we've had like 6 showings. And nobody offered you $1? No one said, I'll trade you a pack of chewing gum for your house? Why? There's something wrong. Either you're not priced right, it's in a poor location, it needs work. There's something wrong that you got no offers whatsoever. So we need to get to the bottom of what's actually wrong and what's going to change by just leaving it on the market and listing it again. What are you going to change? You have to have what's called a USP, a unique selling proposition. And short of picking your house up and moving it, better neighborhood, better location, better yard, putting $30,000 into remodeling it, what's going to change? The only thing you can do is you can drop your price and hope for the best, or offer some sort of owner financing or something. That's what we do. That's how we sell homes on rent-to-owns. But you've got to have something that's going to be your hook to pull people in. So as I see it right now, you told me you're not living there or whatever it is, and it doesn't sound like you're going to put work into it. So your options are you're going to either do some owner financing or you're going to drop the price. And if you're going to consider either one of those, I'm on the phone. I'm ready. I've got a checkbook. Why are you going to go look for something you already have? If you're going to drop the price, let's drop the price and sell it and be done. And the way we do this is you find their problem, you aggravate your problem, and then you give them a cure. So find the cut, put a little alcohol on it, then give them a Band-Aid and an aspirin. So if you are asking them, why are they selling it? I just can't afford it anymore. Why can't you afford it? Well, I built another home and I'm making 2 payments. You built a home and you're making 2 payments. Well, how long have you been paying on it? Well, I've been paying on 12 months. Well, how much are you paying a month? Well, my payment's $1,000 a month, he says. Well, if you're paying $1,000 a month for 12 months, that's $12,000. Plus, you're paying vacant property insurance, are you not? Oh, you're not? Well, regardless if we buy your house or not, let me explain to you. Vacant property insurance is twice as much for half the coverage. And they might be accepting your check every month for regular property insurance, but what's going to happen, when you have a fire, they're going to deny the claim because it's not an occupied property. So you need to go get better insurance on it. Plus you're paying taxes, plus you're cutting the grass, plus you're paying to heat it, plus you're paying for the water bill, plus you're paying to plow the driveway. All this is costing you money. So basically, if you're paying $1,000 a month, add that other stuff in there, let's call it $1,500 a month, you've already spent $18,000. That's nearly $20,000 that you've spent in the last 12 months while you're sitting on it. So you're already from $100,000 down to $80,000. So if we go another year like that, you're going to be from $80,000 on to $60,000. We're already in the 60s on the thing to write you a check that you don't have to worry about or think about it. So what do you want to do? We're already where you want to be. You see, you find where the pain is. There's some people that it's not about the money. Some people have it free and clear. Some people don't care. They're sitting on it. Maybe it's a rental property, and they'll say, well, I'll just rent it. Well, have you been a landlord? What experience have you had? Do you know how to get people in there? Do you know how to get people out of there? Do you know how to keep them paying? Do you like calls on Christmas Eve that their pipes are frozen? I mean, it's cool. If you want to be a landlord, I'm all about it. I can hook you up with one of our friends who owns a management company. He can help you through it. That's fine. But just be prepared that you have to run it like a business. And we buy a lot of landlords' properties. And right now, you're going to get your biggest and best buck from us because it has not been a rental property. It's kind of like buying a rental car. If the car was never a rental car, it's going to have a higher value than if it came off an Enterprise's lot. Because there's going to be some unordinary wear and tear in that home where it was not taken care of as well as you as a homeowner have been taking care of the property. So it's fine. If you want to rent it, I'm here to help you. Believe it or not, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am okay with buying your house. I'm okay with not buying your house. If I can help you with anything in between, that's fine. You want to list it? I'll give you 5 realtors that are awesome at listing properties. You want to rent it? I'll give you 5 managers that are awesome at managing properties. You want better insurance? I'll give you my insurance agent. You need something fixed on it? I'll give you my crew to work on it. I don't care. I'm here to help you. If I can help you get rid of this problem and solve this problem, even if we don't buy your house, maybe one of your friends or family members will sell theirs, or maybe one of your friends or family members will buy one rent-to-own from us. The reason we're in business is because we've been cool with people over the last couple decades, and we've worked well together. Because no today does not mean no forever. So you want to be very conversational and very cool. Is everyone understanding? Mm-hmm. So, in this here, the email, just a little bit of interest. Here, you're really getting the nuts and bolts, and this is where we're really getting all the basic information. Kind of This is a billboard saying, hey, are you sick? Come to the doctor. Right here, you've come to the doctor, you've went in the front, you've registered, you've went in the back, you've got your blood pressure, you've got your gown on, your height, your weight, your temperature, everything's cool. And down in here, we're actually doing some diagnosis and trying to solve your problem. Whether or not you want us to treat your problem or not is up to you. An example I always use with homeowners is I say, basically, you have cancer. Your home is a cancer to you right now. I have chemotherapy. If you want to take it, fantastic. If you don't, that's okay too. I can offer you help. You have the problem. I don't have the problem. If you want me to help you out of this mess, I'll help you out of it. If not, that's cool too. I can give you some advice, let you try to help yourself out of it. But I'm here to help, and that's how you always want to approach this. Any questions, anything? Pretty simple?
Pretty simple.
Do you actually disclose the number that you would be offering, or at least the range on the phone with them?
You have to. You have to, because gas is $4 a gallon, and I don't want to go out there or send one of our closers out there, and they're thinking they're getting $100,000, and we're talking in the 60s.
Okay, so if you talk in the 60s and they say, well, that's significantly below what we were asking, what is your response?
Say exactly. So, Mr. Seller, I understand significantly below what you're asking, but if you look at the numbers, don't take my word for it. If you have an email, I'll email you over the comps. And you go look at the houses and you tell me why yours is better than the ones that are selling for $60,000, $70,000. Just tell me why. Say, I just want to drive out there to figure that out. I just know that market. I know that area. I have bought more houses in your neighborhood than I have pairs of shoes at home. And I'm telling you that that's a $60,000 neighborhood. So for me, I would buy that house at 60. You say I got to put 5,000 into it at 65. I'm probably going to sell the thing at 99,000 on a rent to own, and that's how I'm going to make my money. I'll get a few $1,000 down. They'll pay me $1,000 a month, and that's how we'll get paid.
So you don't ask them for a counter offer? Right there, you just justify your offer and you just stay firm
I just
on
have
it?
my offer and say, so what do you think? I mean, I understand we're not for everybody. Listen, say if you don't need to sell your house and you can live there the next 2 years or pay on a vacant house and you just want to throw the money down the toilet, that's okay. We're not for you. Then list it. If you'd like, I can refer you to an awesome agent that would list it. And if things don't work out, I've been here for nearly 2 decades. I'm sure I'll be here next year too if you want to talk again. But in the meantime, just because you can afford to pay $1,000 a month on a vacation home 3 blocks from where you're currently living doesn't mean it's a good idea. I could afford to pay $100 for a candy bar at the gas station, but that doesn't make it a good idea. Mm-hmm. Just because you have the money, isn't there something else? When you really take that money, and you're not just getting it auto-drafted out of your account, Mr. Seller, and you go get that money out in 20s, you will get that $1,000 you're paying every month in 20s. Go to the bank on the first, say, I'd like $1,000 in 20s, please take it, and shove that in your pocket. And you just go out and live like a drunken sailor that week. That whole month. You tell me how long it takes you to go through that stack of 20s. Walking in, buying lunch for your friend, buying dinner, buying tanks of gas, going out to movies with your wife, taking your kids to one of those jump parks, buying your dog that new sweater at the pet land, and at the end of the month you still have $400 left, and then it's time to go get another $1,000 out, so you have $1,400. Does that not sound like more fun than sending it off to a bank that's getting bailed out by the government to begin with? You can do what you want. I'm telling you better ways to spend your money. And if you have that kind of money, you and I should be talking, so you can be one of my investors. Because if you're that liquid, I can show you how to really make money with all that money you're spending. We can get this one under control. You and I can partner up on this, sell this thing on rent to own. Doesn't cost you a dime to work with me. Then you can start covering that payment. I'm getting paid by signing my contract over here on the down payment. Now you can take the same money and we can go buy some more of these things. Because believe it or not, there's groups of us that have hundreds of these things going at one time. So this thing can go from your biggest headache to your biggest asset. And I can help you get there. I'm here to help. What do you want to do? You're not going to close everybody. If you think you're getting on the phone with everybody and you're going to put a deal together, we're offering too much or we're lying to people. Because you will not close everybody. But if you're closing 20%, you're a freaking rock star. And the ones that you're not closing, it is a game of farming, not hunting. You're planting a seed, you're pouring some water, you're putting some fertilizer, and the next 30, 60, 90, 120, 180, 365 days, We're cultivating that relationship, and they come back, and they come back strong, because once they see you've been there all year, staying in touch with them, all year emails going out, all year calls going out, all year cards going out to them in their mailbox, they're like, these guys are real, and we are going to do business with them.
I noticed you started going into it, but you didn't transition into it. What would be a good transition from a cash sale to a rent-to-own sale be, and what would the benefits be to the actual seller?
Well, you want to be very transparent. Say, if you don't mind, Mr. Seller, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be very transparent and tell you exactly how I do my deals. When I buy your house at 70 cents on the dollar, and say it's a $100,000 house and I pay you 70 minus 10,000 repairs, that's 60. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy that house for $60,000, put the 10 into it, get up to 70, and we're cool. Now we're going to take that house, we're going to sell it for maybe 110, like 109.9 rent to own, $5,000 down, and $1,000 a month. So that's how we're making our money. If you owe too much, you're not willing to take that loss, and you need to get your full 100 out of it, why don't you and I just partner up on it? If you're willing to sell it for what's owed, how about you and I, we go ahead and we put that person in there with $5,000 down, and take that $1,000 a month to cover all your payments, they cover all repairs. At the end of 12 to 36 months, they cash you out. You're on your merry way, didn't lose a dime. I got paid by signing the contract for the down payment of $5,000. You win, I win, the tenant buyer wins, the bank wins, the neighborhood wins, everyone's cool. If you're willing to sell for what's owed. Because if you don't want to sell for what's owed, if you're upside down, let's say you owe $95 on a $100,000 house that there's houses selling for 70 in the neighborhood. That's considered upside down. If that is your situation, Mr. Seller, you've got a couple options. You can wait for the market to bounce back. You can just hang out and live there. But if you've already left the house, you're kind of stuck paying on a house right now. Option two is you can short sell the house, which unfortunately is viewed as a foreclosure in the eyes of other lenders and it hits your credit. You could go bankrupt. That's not a good idea if you have other good credits. A good credit report. If your credit report is good other than that, that's not a good idea. You could do a deed in lieu of foreclosure and give it back to your bank. That's looked at like a foreclosure too. You could just rent it out. But the difference between a tenant and a tenant buyer is night and day. Think about this. You have a mortgage on your house. When you go in, do you take your shoes off? Do you take care of the place?
Of course.
Of course. But if you don't make the payment, whose house is it?
Still the bank's.
It's the bank's. But when you go to a hotel room, do you walk in and say, ooh, honey, take your shoes off. We're walking in a hotel room. No, you rented it. You don't care. You walk in and you treat it like you rented it. So if you're thinking about renting it, if you're thinking about giving it back to the bank, you're thinking about letting it go in foreclosure, you're thinking about filing bankruptcy, you're thinking about just paying out for the next 20 years. Doing a cooperative lease option with someone with experience like ourselves is really the best of your worst options. It's the best of your worst options. Is it the optimum thing? No, of course you want rid of it. Of course you just like to sell it outright. Fine, let's do a short sale. Oh, you can't do that? Well, let's do this. Well, then do nothing. But even a decision to do nothing is still a decision. It's just a bad decision. And I can tell you, 8 out of 10 people that decide to do nothing come back to us. But now you're in stage 4 cancer. So now it's really hard to solve because you're 90 days down on your payment. The city's on your back. You've got a tenant there you can't get out. It's gotten torn up. You've had an insurance claim that's not getting paid because you had a pipe burst. There's something else that's happened. So if you're going to do it, opportunity has a shelf life. I'm offering you an opportunity. I'm not telling you to make a decision on the phone. I'm telling you to consider what we're talking about very seriously and not even to consider about what's going to be great about doing the deal. Consider the ramifications if you do nothing. That's what I want you to think about tonight. And I want us to talk in the next 24 hours about setting a time up to get out there and solving your problem. Make sense?
Perfect sense.
Anything else you think I can answer? Does this take us through negotiations?
Yes.
If I'm going to leave you in conclusion with one thing I want to leave you with. I've said it a couple times during this. I'm saying it again. No is okay. Yes is better. Maybe is not acceptable. Give me a yes, give me a no. The maybe can be until we set a meeting for tomorrow, but it's not a 30-day maybe. And it's a game of farming, not hunting. Put them into a trickle system and stay in touch with them. And above and beyond all, be cool, never be negative, Never attack them personally. Always be in agreement and be there to truly solve their problems and truly serve them as the customer. Truly do that. Not an ulterior motive. Truly go out to try to put them into a good position that's going to leave them better than we found them. And that will come through in what you're selling them on, and you're going to have a higher sales ratio. Cool?
Cool.
Let's make it happen. Let's go buy some houses.